And where better to talk about sign design than a print shop? Green Camps is very fortunate that one of our biggest supporters and sponsors is Sir Speedy Statesville Print Signs and Marketing Company. I think probably the best connection that kind of drew me into this place is that my brother owns it. And so he's been a big advocate and supporting and watched Green Camps go through the last 5 or 6 years so to as we've been on this journey to develop a nonprofit organization to support camps and modeling sustainability and inspire green behavior change. So anytime that you've been out to our events, you'll probably seen some of the print work that we've had done, and I worked with my brother to put together. So we are going to go ahead and intro my brother. He's going to talk a little bit about about his print shop, and then we'll kind of move forward through some other topics. So CJ, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you very much. So if I don't stare directly at the screen, it's because I have an extra monitor and it's awkward to look at that. But anyway, so yeah, I've been in printing for 16 years now. And there's, like all industries, a lot of change and modernization and awareness of the impact of our industry on the world. So I've seen a lot of that change happen. And some of the things that we've talked about, that Dan's talked about over the years, some of the things we do now. So there's what's called FSC, the paper, certified paper. So it's basically sustainably either harvested or replanted or recycled paper. So 95% plus of what we run is that kind of paper. There are some stocks that can't be that way because of the finish needed, but we generally tend to run the recycled stocks these days for a couple of reasons. One, because it's the right thing to do, but honestly, the economics of recycling paper have gotten to the point where it's often cheaper to use a recycled content stock than a pure new wood stock. A lot of what we do in the print side of our business, and to be clear, we're a printing and a sign company. We do both things. But on the print side, printing is somewhat commoditized. So, you guys can go on Vistaprint and get business cards for $10 or $5 or whatever. And that's we do a little bit of that. We tend to serve larger companies than individual companies, but we do a lot of small business as well. And $5 to someone makes a difference versus, and if the cost of paper for me is $3 difference, that economic starts to play in more so than just the quality of the paper. So often we use a recycled stock, and recycled stock's quality has gone significantly up. It's on par with almost anything else out there. That's a big part of what we do. We actually at Sir Speedy are the largest contributor of recycled paper in our community. We print a lot. We're a decent sized company. We're not huge, but we're decent sized. And we recycle everything that we don't run. We have actual bins that are specifically set beside of our cutting machines for our waste that are slid into the bin that go straight to the recycling facilities. We try to reduce the amount of waste we have, in any business, because if I'm throwing paper away, that means I'm wasting money. I'm also wasting a resource. So a lot of our software these days looks at, when we look at running something, we do what's called imposition. So if we've got a square that's 3x4, well, I may have 15 different sizes of sheets I can run. And if I've got to do 1,000 of those things that are 3x4, my software will figure out what size sheet I can run to have the least amount of waste on the edges. It's more efficient for me to run that way. So we buy only the paper needed to do the run that's called for. Another big changes in our industry is what's called print on demand. In general, years ago, 5, 10, 20 years ago, when a company was ordering manuals for their products or sales literature, there are 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 of these things in huge boxes and distribute. Well, what would often happen is you change the model, and because of the way products happen today, people are changing products all the time. You look at Tesla, they're changing the Tesla on the production line, right? It's no longer, this is the car we're going to make for the next 3 years and then change the car. They're changing the design as it's being produced, and that's across everything. So what happens is our customers are modifying their products as they're producing them. Well, they need to be revising the literature that goes with them. So now we're printing a lot more on demand. So we're what's called a digital shop. All of our machines are digital. So I have a $250,000 copier, right? So you've got a copier at your office for your laser prints or whatever. I've got a huge one that can do really long runs or one. So we're able to do really, really high quality in super short runs. So we're able to fulfill the needs of the kind of things that our customers need these days. One, because they're trying to waste less, they're trying to spend less, because everyone is, but they still want a high quality. So that's what we built our business around. Now, on the sign part of it, talked a little bit about printing. There's a lot of materials and signage that are built to be that are more sustainable than they used to be. Really, when we look at signage, we try to look at the use case and longevity for the sign. So if there's something that's needed for, a temporary event for a week or two, there are actually some paper-oriented boards. If you know what foam core is, probably people have used those before. There's a paper board that's all recycled content paper board, but it's about a 1/4 inch thick that we run from time to time. Most of the times we do is months to years of use. So we try to put, again, use the material that makes the product last so it doesn't have to be replaced. There's a lot of plastics in what we do. We use a lot of aluminum, and aluminum is recyclable. But realistically, for what the industry requires, you have to use plastic. So we just try to use the materials that meet the need of the job so they're not wasted and thrown away and have to be replaced. It's a one-time use scenario. Again, same deal. We try to use the right size sheet, so we throw away as little material as we can. We try to buy enough material that the end product doesn't have any waste or very little waste. And the other part of it is, because of what we do, we print on large boards for our signs. We have a lot of drop cuts. So we have a small yard sign size thing. I have a 3/4 of the sheet left, but we've got an inventory that we basically can pull that from and reuse it until it's all gone. So that's a lot of what our industry and what we've done to reduce our impact and make sure that we're being as efficient with the materials and things we have to do that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Cool. CJ, thanks for sharing all that information. I think it was important to start with that, just to better understand that, when we're talking about sustainability from the large context, like, there is waste involved, there's energy involved in most of our day-to-day actions. When we look at, like, the larger systemic changes that are happening from larger organizations, like, those are what's going to trickle down to allow consumers to have an easier time making those decisions. So if a print shop is able to offer you those types of options, or if it's becoming standard across an industry to have better practices in the way in which we're, collecting resources to make paper, or the way in which we're putting these products together, it opens up our options. So again, it really starts with that big systemic change. But what we're really focusing on is our individual change. So how can our actions have far-reaching consequences? And again, that's what comes back to the sign contest, that we can each individually create something that will inspire someone to change a behavior. And so what we'll move on to next is we're going to transition into some sign design